we thought was going to be one of the marquee races of the week, you could argue. The men's 110 hurdles. Devon Allen on his home track, going into the NFL after this, who set out that he wanted to break a world record, but ultimately really just win a world title.
Yeah.
Going against Grant Holloway, who we kind of have deemed the next best great thing in hurdling.
Yeah.
There was all these storylines. There was some depth. There was Trey Cunningham. There was Hansel Parsmet. Daniel Roberts was coming off the winning USAs. So it was building up to this great 5-way race.
Yeah.
But we only had 2 of them in the final because, notably, we'll talk about Grant and his greatness later. But first, we need to talk about this false start.
Yeah.
Devon Allen deemed a false start due to this rule. So the rule is if the timing system says that you leave the blocks shorter than 0.1 seconds from the gun, you're deemed a false starter. Yep. It's not that you jump the gun. Right. They just assume that you jump the gun to be within so close of being.
Yeah, humans' reaction time cannot possibly be that quick.
Allegedly.
In theory. Yes.
Allegedly. So the rule is if you're under 0.1, DQ. It was happening throughout the meet. But Devon Allen was 0.099. The closest you can be to under 0.1 that there is possible.
Yeah.
He was splitting an atom of being under 0.1 and therefore was deemed making an illegal false start and doesn't even get to run in the race that we all wanted to watch. That thousands of people flew across the country, flew across the world to watch. And we said that, sorry, the science says it's impossible for Devon Allen to be 0.0999 fast. He only can be 0.1 fast.
So, yeah, it's important to bring up the other 2 false starts of the day because those also were in the similar time ranges as Allen. Those weren't ones where they beat the gun because then you see the minus in front of the reaction time.
Yeah.
It's a positive in front of the reaction time. It wouldn't be a track meet, though. It would not be a global track meet if there wasn't one rule that's going to get everybody's attention and make non-track fans scratch their head and go, wait, what? I'm watching this guy. I'm watching this replay. That didn't look like a false start to me. I know what a false start is. I might have run track before, or I've seen 2 people race. I know what it means to leave early. And there's 2 issues here, right? There's 2 issues. There's one, is the science precise enough to be able to measure whether or not they got off the blocks 1/1000th early, right? We talked to Maurice Green on the walk over here, Olympic champion himself, said, yeah, it's tough. Like you're dealing with 1,000th of a second. And then the second part of it is, should the threshold be 0.100 or should it not? Should it be lower or should it only be if there's a negative in front of it? So there's 2 things to consider here. We're going to get a lot of debate, a lot of discussion. It happened with a very high profile athlete in a high profile race, but this has been going on for a while. Richard Kilty famously got DQ'd and he has an amazing start. And it's almost like, man, maybe this guy is just like too good for the rule. Maybe his reaction time is just better. So there's a lot to unpack, but I think the big picture here, a lot of non-track and field fans and even track and field fans are scratching their head because what they see doesn't look like a false start.
It's a trash rule. It's a trash science. We talked to a scientist. We literally were walking and talking on the Instagram, which you guys should watch. It's the pre-podcast Instagram show from walking from the stadium to the dorm. We ran into this, I think it was father-daughter.
Yeah.
And the daughter, I think, is a student at Oregon, maybe, or current student.
She's a scientist,
but
so
she studies. Yeah, I believe her. She studies like neurological reactions.
Keep going.
Right? And she said that the rule 0.1 is not 100% fact science. It's arbitrary. It ain't real. And we're just following these rules because, hey, 0.1, that's an even round number. How do we know it's 0.1? Why? I would believe it more if they said it was 0.9942 or something like that. But they're like 0.1, that just happens to be the number. It seems like very convenient to be perfectly rounded at 0.100. That science decided that the brain knows to be 0.100 for time.
Here's my thing, though. If you guess the gun, who cares?
Yes.
If you want to run that gamble, that's fine.
It's on you.
I wouldn't recommend it. We also, with Maurice Green, was Emmanuel Hudson, who's an agent, been in the game for a while, represents Christian Coleman, a bunch of other big name athletes. He said, starters have a cadence. right? Set, and then the gun goes off. So people try to pick up on that. Starters try to change that as well too. So, but if you want to run that risk in the World Championships or Olympics, go ahead. When you watch the 3 false starts from today, none of them look like they are guessing the gun, because if you're guessing, you did it to a very, very small degree. Just disappointing. Just disappointing. That race in general looked weird, like the final, because we had a big 5 going into this meet. If you want to broaden it, you have the 4 Americans, because you got to throw Daniel Roberts in there, 1 USA's, and you had Hansel Parchment, who looked great throughout the rounds. Parchment is out, Roberts is out, and then Allen is out. So you're just left with Cunningham and Holloway. We have sound from Devon Allen that we wanted to play. This comes just a few minutes ago from the mix. And let's just play 30 seconds of this interview, if we could, of Devon Allen reacting to the false start and his thoughts on the ruling. Colt, we got that?
By the rule of false start, but it's so close that, there's a lot of margin of error there. The fact that there's no, I'm not going to say leeway, but say that the equipment's 100% perfect, right? 1/1000th is pretty close to the limit. I'm 1/1000th slower, and no one, everybody's happy. Everybody's, hey, great race, world champ, and that's that. So, it's a little frustrating. There's a lot of variables in a race, we're all getting in the set and moving at the same, moving and stuff like that as well. So to say that, maybe that was a factor as well.
It just sucks. It's bullshit. I'm angry. You know what this was making me think about? They're like, oh, the reason why it's a rule because we just assume you're jumping the gun because science says you can't be that fast. That would be like the NBA being like, when you make a 3-point shot that happened to be a bank shot that you weren't purposely banking,
it
like
doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Like if NBA players shoot a ball and they get a lucky bounce, oh, it doesn't count because you thought you were going to swish it.
Yeah.
And because you thought that, we know that technically that ball shouldn't have gone in.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we're doing. Like we know that technically you wouldn't have been able to do this. But again, all it should be 0. It should be 0, 0, 0.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense.
Yeah. Someone in the chat says Americans, when they find out Americans have to fall, it's not just about Americans, because we're mad about Gaithier. We're mad about
Julian Alfred.
I was looking up about Richard Kilty. I think it was a couple of years ago, probably pre this pod. I was on another pod. Yeah, it's just, again, it's just one of these things. You could write a long piece about why this sort of rule encompasses a lot of the issues with track and field.
Yes.
And a lot of people go on Twitter right now, search Devon Allen. A lot of people who are not track fans are just confused. And this is not the same thing as the Bolt false start, right? Because it's like the Bolt false start in 2011, he false started. Now people were mad about the rule. Should it be 1? It should be 1 charge to the field. That's different. This is a different scenario,
false start,
right? Where people are upset for a different reason because they're looking at it with their own 2 eyes and they're saying this is strange. In the same way, NFL, what's a catch? Is this a catch? Is that a catch? Or VAR in soccer, is this offsides or is that offsides? But this is just so frustrating. We got a tweet up there from, this is a track athlete himself, Gray Horn. If I want a track and field enthusiast and just happened to tune in to the World Championships, I would have just changed the channel after watching what just happened to Devon Allen. What an embarrassment for the sport. And Allen's not going to say this, but it almost made me think he's just like, all right, cool, I'm good with football.
Yeah.
Like, not that there's not problems with that sport, but it's just you train your entire life. Your season is going well, and then you get to the global championships, and then it's one thing to lose by 0.001. No one's mad about that. That's part of the game. But for this rule to come in when you're not actually false starting and getting called for a false start, it's frustrating.